Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's Speech Technology Magazine web event, sponsored by Speechmatics, Speech Processing Solutions, and Replicant. I'm LaShawn Fugate, publisher of Speech Technology Magazine, and I'll be moderating today's event discussing trends for AI and speech in 2021. But before we get started, just a few comments on how you can participate in this live broadcast. At the end of the program, you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have by simply typing it into the question box and then click on the submit button. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but if your question has not been answered during the show, you will receive an email response to it within a few days. Plus, if you would like a copy of today's presentation, you can download a PDF from the Handouts tab once the event has been archived. Now to introduce our speakers for today, we have Alex Fleming, Product Manager from Speechmatics, Will Schaffner, Chief Technical Officer and Product Management Owner of Speech Processing Solutions, and Meghna Suresh, Head of Product and Co-Founder of Replicant. Welcome, everyone. Now, Alex, I'll let you start things off on what Speechmatics has been or has seen based on some of your recent research.
Thanks, LaShawn, and thanks everyone for joining this webinar today. So, as LaShawn said, welcome everyone. My name is Alex Fleming. I'm the product manager at Speechmatics. For those of you who are not familiar with Speechmatics, we're a machine learning company that specializes in speech recognition. Speechmatics leads the market, delivering in any context, business-to-business automatic speech recognition engine used by organizations across the globe to build innovative applications that scale. So today I'm going to be talking about two key topics: how COVID-19 has impacted the future of speech recognition technology and the predictions of voice technology in 2021 and beyond. So every year, Speechmatics conducts research to understand the state of the market and generate trends and predictions for the following year. It's that research that's really inspired this presentation. And you can find more information about the trends of 2020 and predictions of 2021 within the latest Speechmatics report that's available on our website. Speech technology, automatic speech recognition, and other related solutions which leverage voice continue to grow in adoption as the benefits continue to be seen by a wide range of organizations in real-world applications. As a result, our research found that 68% of those who responded indicated that their organizations already have a voice strategy compared to 50% of last year, a year-on-year increase of around 18%. Of those who have not yet adopted a voice strategy, 65% of those said that it's something that will be considered in the next 5 years. Voice technology is becoming a core component for many businesses within their technology stack and strategy. It unlocks a range of capabilities and powers business-critical tools only made possible through the accurate transformation of speech to text. As many organizations and businesses look to deploy and optimize tools like speech analytics, machine process automation, and natural language processing, it's worth remembering that in a lot of these cases, these services rely on text-based inputs derived from highly accurate transcription to deliver the best results. Voice technology currently sits between the early adopters and early majority concerning the product adoption lifecycle. Voice is considered to be one of the easiest methods of communication, and we predict that there will continue to be a major shift within enterprises in 2021 to make the most of this channel, as well as making voice and voice interactions more accessible to all. Year-on-year data predicts that over the next 5 years, businesses will start to fully integrate voice technology within their workflows. If companies aren't thinking about voice as part of their wider digital transformation projects, then they're missing out. They should look to all communication touchpoints and use the right communication methods to improve workflows and efficiencies for themselves internally, as well as for their customers and users. Our research looked to understand some key industries that had seen opportunities as a result of COVID-19 and the elements that had driven these opportunities. Our research demonstrated that 41% of people thought that the healthcare and life sciences industry had experienced a significant impact as a result of COVID-19. This industry has been in the spotlight around the world of late, not only continuing to develop healthcare breakthroughs generally, but also through the development of new vaccines and medical products in the aid of treatment throughout the pandemic. The increased focus on healthcare has also aimed the spotlight on telehealth and other remote and virtual treatment solutions that could be seen as beneficial to patients and medical professionals alike. While these services always existed before the pandemic, the increased pressure to treat a huge volume of individuals while in lockdown has reinvigorated the need as a key answer to delivering vital healthcare, even with the challenges of quarantine and restrictions in movement. It's expected that this trend will continue even after COVID-19 is under control. Speech and speech recognition technology is a vital part of these solutions, with accurate speech recognition not only delivering patient accessibility through real-time captions or post-interaction transcripts, but also to capture interactions at scale and create a knowledge base to assist doctors and healthcare service providers. Our research found that an overwhelming majority, 93% of those surveys, thought that the demand for collaboration tools will increase into 2021 and beyond. 58% of respondents think that web conferencing transcription has experienced a significant and positive impact as a result of COVID-19. With web conferencing platforms being adopted to suit home working across the world, the subject of captions and transcription has cropped up for us continuously. Web conferencing became the best, and actually in some cases the only way of communicating almost overnight in 2020. No longer were these the tools of only the work environment, were being used by everyone, even grandma. Savvy organizations and solution providers recognized a huge opportunity when it came to the accessibility of web conferences. The requirement for captions became a must to ensure conversations were accessible and understood by everyone. Transcripts became even more important as a way of recording conversations as they happened so businesses could capture, store, and analyze what's said on calls. This also meant that businesses had a text-based resource that they could analyze automatically, delivering insight cost-effectively and at scale. In the case of compliance and e-discovery use cases, the ability to leverage speech-to-text in either batch or real-time mode, tune it through customization features, and then feed it into a monitoring platform, optimize the visibility of data, helping mitigate risk in a big way. Advancements by leading ASR providers are also helping the users of these technologies make the best of them, including a greater range of metadata tags and features, automatically providing a greater information about interactions, including where profanity might occur, for instance, information about disfluencies, ums, ers, or other hesitations, contributing to intent recognition and sentiment analysis, as well as identifying unique speakers and automatically separating a transcript to optimize the readability and speed that transcriptions could be used and consumed. The rise in media and audio content production, along with the creation of new channels, meant that media companies continue to be challenged to manage and monitor what's said within their data and assets. Our research demonstrated that 37% of people thought that the media and entertainment industry had experienced a positive impact as a result of COVID-19. The requirement to pivot to a more digital and marketing strategy as a result of lockdowns and restrictions in movement can explain the growth in content creation and increased utilization of social media, online videos, and other non-physical channels from a more diverse range of content creators. The production of short and long-form digital content on a wider range of video streaming platforms has shown a significant growth since the beginning of 2020, as brands, businesses, and influencers battle to make their voices heard, attract new subscribers, and retain their audiences. Speech-to-text is empowering producers here, optimizing and accelerating the creation of content, allowing editors to jump to specific parts of a piece of content where certain words might be used, for instance, to highlight profanity automatically so any action can be taken if necessary, to deliver metadata to indicate when speakers have changed, to make content more accessible through captioning, and also to make assets easier to discover within a content archive through the ability to search the content of a transcript related to a specific asset, as well as delivering key information about an asset to enable proper evaluation and optimize ROI. OTT services also have the opportunity to use speech-to-text as an additional source of information and help with content personalization. A better understanding of the content and what users are watching means better recommendations, a more enjoyable viewing experience, and the reduction in customer churn. All these behaviors and use cases are expected to continue on the same trajectory into 2021 and beyond. The old adage is that content is king, but maybe content curation king might be equally important as we move into the future. "34% of respondents think that customer experience and analytics have seen a significant positive impact also. Since the pandemic became an international emergency, customer experience has been highlighted as a major issue within contact centers. Not only are agents dealing with more customer issues by phone, but customers are also more vulnerable than ever, and so must be treated sensitively and often in a case-by-case basis. Contact centers have struggled with large volumes of calls. This is all while managing their own team's resources, as staff themselves have been impacted by the pandemic, and their working environments have shifted from traditionally into an office to their own homes. Speech recognition technology has been implemented by large organizations within their own contact centers and contact center solution providers to not only perform retrospective speech analytics, but also to help teams manage demand in real time, triggering call routing capabilities and automatic workflow management, augmenting resources so human agents can dedicate more time to their customers. Over the last number of years, the speech market, and ASR specifically, has transcended from just the transformation of speech to text to a vital tool for independent software vendors and enterprises to supercharge their voice-based tools, products, services, and differentiate them in the market, deliver key business outcomes. While some things are constant, others change. A good example of commonality year on year is the expectation of accuracy, specifically word error rate accuracy. Our research showed that word error rate remains the primary focus across the board, and that 68% perceive the accuracy to be the largest barrier to adoption. Recent years have seen huge gains in word error rate accuracy, not only in lab environments, but also in real-world applications. It's expected that word error rate accuracy will continue to improve, often by throwing more data at this problem. However, this approach is likely to see diminishing returns. Using data alone to increase accuracy beyond 90 or 95% will require huge volumes and increasing levels of processing power for what is expected to be single percentage increases. For many providers, this just won't be worth it, or they simply just won't have the available hardware to retrain such huge data sets. It's expected that the battlegrounds over accuracy might shift to a greater variety of languages, empowering services used by global businesses. At the end of 2020 and early 2021, there was also some examples of some cutting-edge ASR organizations looking to leverage pioneering machine learning approaches and techniques with the potential to deliver a step change in word error rate accuracy, while also reducing the time to market of engines trained on larger and more diverse data sets. While accuracy of ASR services is a huge contributing factor to adoption, being easy to use, integrate, and operate are also key factors, which is why at Speechmatics, we continue to work to not only develop new languages, uplift transcription accuracy, and deliver innovative and new features and approaches, but to optimize operational efficiencies and convenience of using our products. Speech to text isn't the only output available from speech recognition solutions. Metadata unlock from solutions now delivers vital information to optimize existing products and services powered by ASR. Owning both the media, transcript, and a greater level of actionable data enables users to further optimize workflows, accelerate processes, implement machine learning automation capabilities, and augment their human workforces to reduce cost through a greater understanding of the media that they own. It's expected that a focus on transcription accuracy will be joined by an increased demand for highly accurate metadata extraction capabilities and features like diarization in the future. So speaker diarization is one of the most challenging elements of speech recognition, used to understand which speaker is talking within a single channel media file. While speaker diarization exists today, it's still a key challenge for speech providers to perfect. 2021 saw the release of an updated speaker diarization feature from us at Speechmatics. This update uplifted the performance of this feature by over 20% on average when compared to our previous version. Language identification is also a key feature for users, being able to generate more information about a file, triggering additional actions off the back of this information, like which transcription language pack to be used. And these are becoming more popular, further reducing human intervention within workflows, and as a result, this kind of functionality can make workflows faster, less complex, and importantly, cheaper. So kind of in conclusion from me, 2020 showed that more and more companies are realizing that voice technology has matured and evolved to solve real-world problems and support significant improvements to workflows and customer experiences. The markets are waking up to the fact that voice technology is an enabler for them. Word error rate accuracy continues to improve, with global organizations placing big bets on ASR, leveraging speech recognition to deliver key strategic and business goals, optimizing and supporting their workflows, enabling digital transformation while also reducing cost. Features are becoming a vital part of any solution. Good transcription alone is not enough. ASR is an enablement technology, empowering additional elements and automation within workflows to deliver greater value than just a transcript. Metadata is helping better understand media and deliver greater richness of information to users. 42% of respondents indicated that data security and privacy are some of the largest barriers to adoption for them. For this reason, the flexibility of where to deploy this kind of technology remains an important consideration. However, the pandemic has forced providers and businesses to be more open-minded in terms of which environments they use to deploy technology, especially when considering the cloud. Deploying and integrating voice technology, or any software for that matter, needs to be simple. 28% of respondents said that the complexity of deploying and integrating voice technology is still a barrier to their adoption. So the ability to support a wide range of deployment options means that users have control of where their data is stored. But also, they need to consider the environment that's aligned with their business goals and can offer collaboration for teams who are geographically distributed or working remotely if required. The future is bright for speech technology. ASR is increasingly becoming more than the sum of its parts, becoming a vital tool and enablement technology to power AI workflows and automation. Dedicated effort in the ASR space is continuing to deliver greater accuracy, as well as features and metadata to unlock more and more value, enabling organizations to innovate with voice. For more information, please download our latest Speechmatics Trends and Predictions for Voice Technology report in 2021, available on our website, or please reach out to us. And that does it for me today, so I'll hand you back to LaShawn, and thank you very much for your time.
Great, thanks, Alex. Now, Will, tell us more on what Speech Processing Solutions is seeing in this area.
Yes, thank you, LaShawn. Thanks, Alex, and welcome everyone. Maybe first about myself. My name is Wilfried Schaffner. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not native English speaker. I'm from Austria, where our headquarter of Philips Speech is. Philips Speech is a division within Philips, where we produce hardware and software around speech recording. You maybe still remember the famous pocket memo voice recorder with a cassette even. That was a long time ago. But to me, I came to this company after a whole life in startups. I was lucky to stumble into a startup after finishing the university and stayed there ever since. Always built companies and services. Online services was a red line through my career. High transactional systems, subscription systems, but especially always a high speed of innovation. And this is exactly what I try to bring to this company, but this company already had as well from a history, and this is what we're joining now. And this is Philips Speech doing for over 65 years. I think it's going to 70 years soon. We are innovating the way people record their voice. So we are building devices to record on the one side the speaker and do this in high quality. And we did this for a long time. But not only hardware, it's also software we are doing. We process the software and we build systems for workflow, for sending the speech around the world to get typed up, to send it to speech recognition services like the ones Alex just presented us, and more. In total, we're a small division as such. We are just around about 170 people, but we operate worldwide. We sell worldwide. Our main markets are, our main areas are hospitals, the medical market, the legal market, insurance, to name a few. And overall, we claim that we save people's time. So our mission is that we do something so that people can concentrate more on their work. And by recording voice, this is a quite easy thing, because voice is, or the spoken word, is 7 times faster than you can type on your keyboard. And that's our philosophy ever since. But obviously time changed. It's all about digital products now. It's about voice recording and then going into speech recognition. And this is what we've done pretty much always. We recorded a single speaker. We recorded one person talking, or maybe the doctor, right? The doctor is talking to the patient, and afterwards turning around and recording the stuff he wants then have to be written down, right? In the early days, this was a typist typing this up. Now this is more speech recognition and doing it automatically. But at the end, it's a single speaker, and this is exactly where the problem currently is. When you look at the market, it was always a single speaker market, but now, or maybe the other way around, it was not always a single speaker market, but there was no chance to record 2 speakers. Now with additional computation power, now with AI being more powerful, it slowly gets possible to record 2 speakers. But there is a big problem. And this big problem is if these 2 speakers speak at the same time. Just think of yourself when you hear 2 people talking, or somebody else talks over another one. It's very painful to, even for us as a human, to separate these two voices and to at least listen to one of them. And the same problems a computer has, obviously. And we see more and more use cases in this market, in this area. We see a doctor talking to a patient currently, and then turning around recording. But why not record the conversation of the doctor and the patient straight away? We see that currently scribes are listening in. They're maybe not sitting in the same office, they're sitting somewhere else. They have troubles via the phone line to separate the two. We have speech recognition, which can't get proper results. And this is something for some time the industry tries to solve. And the first approach to solve this was by isolating the voice, by isolating the speakers. Have maybe 2 gooseneck microphones or 2 ear microphones very far apart, but if you get closer, it's already a problem. It's not so easy to separate. Second approach in the last years was by AI. Let AI differentiate. But remember, we said even we as a human have a problem, and stuff which we can't treat as a human and teach the machine. The machine also has troubles to understand and to do. So this is an open problem, and this is exactly what we try to tackle. And this is the product I like to introduce to you, the Philips Smart Mic. It's a new microphone we developed. It's roughly, in the size here, you don't have a relation, it's roughly 5 inches long. It's a quite handy small device which you put on your table in front of you, and the person opposite you, you can speak whatever you want at the same time, loud, silent, it will separate your two voices or your two sounds. This whole thing combines the two methods I just explained before. The special arrangement of microphones in this microphone. There's a special arrangement of little microphones in there. So it's somehow a hardware solution with an intelligent way of putting these microphones. But on top, there is an artificial intelligence running, separating the two speakers out of these arrays and producing a stereo sound with two speakers clearly separated. And the level of separation is so clear that speech recognition has no problem at all. So speech recognition then runs on both channels and gives you a perfect audio stream. And this is the power of this device. We can now not only listen into a conversation, we can archive it, we can transcribe it, or in a later stage, even do more with it. But to that I come a bit later. And this is quite new in the market. This is so far not achieved, and it's a product we're trying to give out into the market, or we are already doing. It's already launched. We're having in the market in a two-way approach. So we're building our own product with our own software solution with it, but it's also going into the market with integrators. So we're giving it out to companies having a solution and need the microphone to be built in. We're providing an SDK with it and can be integrated for other solutions as well. And when by giving this out to integration partners, this is obviously going to solve different use cases. So what we're seeing right now is quite interesting. I already spoke about a doctor-patient situation, but we have, for example, an insurance company which is recording all the talks from an insurance agent with the client and archiving these talks, so they can later, if there's a claim coming for false advice, have a dispute about it and clarify what the agent really told the customer. Or another interesting case we are on right now, for example, it's actually being tried out in a prison where the patient, there's no patient, where the victim has visitors and they're recording the conversation with a visitor and let it analyze whether there's anything dangerous going on in these talks. So quite a lot use cases we see, and I'm sure there's even more to come. And with our own solution, we try to do the same. So we have our own software, online software suite, Speech Live, and with Speech Live, we're also integrating this product. And so you can not only record the single speaker, you can record a conversation. The logical questions I get asked at this point is, this is about two speakers. Can you also do more than two speakers? Yes, we can. In future, we definitely will be able to. In our lab, we are already doing this. It's possible. But first of all, we started with two speakers because, yes, it's easier, and we wanted to see whether we can solve it. And the market also needs to adapt to it. So there's quite a lot of, there's not many solutions out there, but quite a lot of interest. We need to adjust. And by looking at by listening to our customers, we figured out that at the start, it's 80% and more of the conversations are actually with two speakers. So that's why we solved this problem first. And later, we will launch a product which will be able to do 4 or even 8 speakers in future. In case this device is on the table and the doctor speaks to, let's say, a mother with the child, in our case, the doctor is one channel and the child and her mother will be the second channel. They will be both on one channel. So this is not separated currently, but the doctor is always separated in one channel. And the doctor, for example, for a doctor-patient, has the master voice. It's always this is what counts, for example. So this is the solution we currently have. What we also work on, and what will be our next step, is to put this device into a small pocket-size wearable device. And this will enable us that the doctor can wear it on the chest, and it will also be a more sophisticated microphone array in it. So we will be able to record a conversation from the doctor, not only when they sit at a table, also when there is no table, when they are in the examination room and looking at the knee of the patient, for example. The doctor is down at the knee. If they look at the shoulder, doctor is up. If the patient lies on the bed, it's a different situation. If the doctor then is at the foot of the bed or at the head of the bed, it's different. So we are trying to solve or create a microphone which solves all that situations and is capable of handling that. Very clear, and again, in a high quality, to separate both channels and have no mistakes because of bad audio recording. And this is sort of the challenge for us all the time. We are concentrating on a high quality recording. So it doesn't matter whether it's for single speaker or now for multi-speaker. We at Philips Speech Processing Solutions, we concentrate on giving a high quality sound to the speech recognition solution. Because speech recognition was always around, but there's a hype around it right now, let's face it. But it's more in the consumer market because for real professional use, it needs to be accurate. It's not good enough to be 90% accurate. It needs to be better. And speech recognition is getting there, or it's actually there now. It's really good, it's solid. But for that, it needs proper microphones, it needs a proper sound. Because if the sound is not good, if there is something cut off, we can't, or that the quality is not good enough. And this is this hype. This hype we are definitely seeing, and we are solving with good quality sound. And this is what we are doing. We're providing proper hardware, proper microphones and software to have a clear audio stream for speech recognition to work. And we will focus on, after it, to process the speech, the spoken word, and process it further so that we can do more than just archiving the text, so that we can do more. This is our next step into the future. Thank you for listening, and I hope you are interested in our products, but especially the new smart mic with multi-speaker separation. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Will. Now, Magna, we're going to segue into Replicant. Can you tell us some information about your company?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Magna, head of product at Replicant. It's great to be with you all. Thanks so much for having me here. So we've all heard about the innovation that AI and speech recognition can bring, and we've explored many of its technical aspects in some of the previous presentations. Now I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about how these massive advances in AI can be applied to enterprise needs and really solve important business problems at scale. I'd like to go to the next slide here, LaShawn. So just to kind of think a little bit about our vision, which is a good place to start. So Replicant was actually founded around the vision of building an autonomous contact center. But what does this really mean, right? So if you think about the big pain points in customer service today, and this was thrown into sharp relief with COVID about a year ago, it's long hold times for customers, immense challenges for enterprises in meeting spikes in call volume and staffing and training agents appropriately. Ultimately, this all boils down to a lack of elasticity. companies could never really easily scale up or down their support capacity based on customer demand, but now with Replicant, we're enabling companies to do just that. So our thinking machines run millions of production calls a month powered by state-of-the-art NLU and speech recognition. And every day we take on many call centers' mundane tier 1 support tasks. So companies can really reserve agents for relationship building, for emotional calls, complex interactions, things like that. This means that a huge chunk of a contact center's operations can run more or less autonomously and really create the next big step function efficiency gain for businesses, for employees everywhere. Now, on this slide, you just see that advances in areas like speech recognition have really enabled a rebirth of the voice channel, if you will. So, there's been many new platforms since the telephone, right? That's been around for ages, and a lot of the more kind of visual channels that we're used to interacting with have unlocked great user experiences in many other areas. But today in 2021, we still find that the vast majority of customer service interactions still occur over the conventional phone. The ease and immediacy of picking up the phone and calling a brand is just really compelling to a lot of customers, over 2/3 of them. But providing phone support on demand has, till date, been really expensive and fraught with operational challenges for businesses. So with technologies like Replicant, we're able to scale the build out of great voice user experiences for customers and meeting customers where they want to be. We've seen voice interfaces enter our consumer lives in a big way with things like Amazon Alexa and Siri, and now it's taking shape in our enterprise lives as a key interface there too. And so you could say that with speech recognition, voice is back in a bigger way than ever really in the enterprise. On to the next slide. So, we kind of think of speech recognition as a key enabler of Replicant. At our core, what we do is we craft great conversations. So we design the best possible voice user interfaces. We marry the capabilities of our speech recognition, intent models, entity extraction, other AI models with best-in-class conversation design to craft thinking machines that can deliver really human-like conversations in a repeatable way. So we can meet the demands of an ever-growing market for call center services. This is projected to be a $500 billion market by 2027. At this point, it's kind of worth thinking about, what is really possible now that wasn't before? We have speech recognition capabilities that can handle more challenges than ever before. The technology is now capable of handling, for instance, really lossy 8 kilohertz audio on a phone line. Handle really noisy environments and denoise and really disambiguate what someone's saying. We've also found that with the right training and fine-tuning, we can get our models to adapt their language and audio understanding to completely out of vocabulary words or very specific use cases. Things that are very common in customer service, like extracting a complex 20-digit alphanumeric product code or a highly uncommon name that a customer might have. In a specific turn of conversation, let's take a common customer service example of the user spelling out their name. We now found that our speech recognition models are capable of handling sophisticated inputs. If a customer says things like B as in Bravo, V as in Victor, we can disambiguate between these. And this was really not easily possible, 3 or more years ago. So these are really significant advances that are really pertinent to the field of customer service. Furthermore, it's worth thinking about the fact that the field has advanced to the point where our thinking machines can classify more colloquial expressions. Think about a simple example of a user saying something like no problem. To a human, it's pretty clear that no problem means yes, but to an older generation NLU model, that might have had trouble classifying this as a positive or an affirmative statement because of the presence of the word no in the sentence. Now we have the capabilities to distinguish between things like no problem and no, that might be a problem in a very contextual way. And so these are the types of capabilities that are really critical to success in our domain that really weren't possible before the latest advances in NLU and speech recognition. On the next slide. So now with Replicant Voice, we service a whole array of companies and industries, right? So to talk about the use cases a little bit that have been unlocked by this technology, it's everything from Fortune 100 companies in highly data-sensitive industries such as insurance and financial services to some of the largest tech-enabled consumer services platforms in the world that handle really high volumes of interactions in both B2B and B2C contexts. All these customers are now able to leverage voice AI to deliver always-on elastic call center capacity for customer service at scale. And that means handling thousands of Tier 1 support cases, everything from requesting proof of insurance to ordering a pizza fully autonomously. Just like agents, Replicant Voice can now speak with customers in a natural tone, answer questions without delay, and resolve customer service issues quickly. Hopefully the point we're able to illustrate here is that when you apply the latest capabilities of speech recognition and voice AI to business problems, you can really remove limitations to create better experiences, really in a wide array of industries. We're able to resolve the majority of Tier 1 use cases, eliminate hold times, auto-scale with peaks and troughs in demand, integrate fully with a contact center or CRM ecosystem to provide a great experience for all involved. So there's a really large kind of chain of events and products and features here that really make this work. On the next slide here, we'll get a little deeper into kind of what type of comprehensive platform is really required to bring these capabilities to life. So you see these kind of 4 elements here, and these are really the foundations of our platform. So first and foremost, the product's built on a foundation of purpose-built speech recognition models. They're trained on data specific to our domain and even specific use cases and turns of conversation. We find that this domain specificity versus using general purpose models that are just trained on a more generalized corpus of data, this is really vital to our success. And it's a core part of our tech stack to be able to, in a very customized and efficient way, use the right architecture and operations to train these types of models on the fly. We've actually found from a data perspective that adapting the training data as closely to the domain as possible has enabled us to reduce word error rates by over 20% for certain use cases. Secondly, we found that when designing great voice user interfaces, a big challenge for a lot of companies is a lack of conversation design expertise in-house. Most companies need a fast, easy, and deployable way to scale voice AI so that you're not designing conversations from scratch or needing to repeat development work to expand across use cases. We resolved this at Replicant with what we call Replicant Powers. From the scores of thinking machines we've built, we've developed these battle-tested flows for lots of common use cases. And these conversation components are available out of the box to turbocharge development. The next aspect is we also offer a fully managed continuous learning environment because in our domain and in speech recognition and NLU, it can be a big challenge to scalably retrain models without significant operational overhead. So we offer an out-of-the-box active learning product that's highly effective at identifying a small subset of utterances that require retraining with minimal human intervention. Only the appropriate samples are escalated to human reviewers, which increases labeling efficiency. All our model retrains then provide full visibility into the performance of every new model and intent, and that ensures that our conversation models are getting smarter every day. Now, the most important customer conversations can improve, and we don't need to manually update call scripts or train new agents. Finally, we believe that as critical a product as the thinking machine is, the data it produces is not just a byproduct, but just as important a product in its own right. For the first time ever with a platform like Replicant, you can get access to lots of unstructured data in the form of customer conversations. And with our analytics platform, our transcripts, call analytics, the wealth of information they contain are all transparent and visible. And that's a key part of maintaining and improving the system constantly. So, with our platform, we'll capture, transcribe conversations in real time. Every call will be searchable with Google-like search capabilities. Every conversation is auto-tagged by disposition. All of this call center data that used to be a black box is now fully available. And this is really a transformative aspect of speech recognition, the deep insight into a business's operations that gets unlocked because we're able to kind of structure all of the data from unstructured conversations. On the next slide, we have some examples that bring these aforementioned powers to life. Whether it's designing the most elegant escalation to an agent when there's a long wait time, or finding the most optimal way to geolocate a user who needs roadside assistance, or perhaps securely gathering a credit card, or seamlessly addressing 3 parallel intents. It's something that we've likely done before and have available as a power that any customer can leverage. Let's take, for example, a flow where we need to collect a name from a user. It sounds simple, but it actually requires a lot of conversation design and dialogue modeling. Replicant's name collection power will incorporate all of these key elements, from a clear initial prompt that triggers the appropriate ASR model to transcribe the name, to a graceful reprompt if we didn't get it right the first time, to making specific decisions in the back end, like deciding whether to use a spell-out transcription model for more complex names or a phoneme-based model for more common names, to reading it back for confirmation in cases where we don't have high confidence that we got it right. All of these micro decisions are packaged up together and available right in the platform. So this last slide will kind of just wrap things up and bring it all together. But we really believe that human-to-machine conversations are the next frontier of communications. As we've mentioned earlier, we've seen it take hold in our consumer lives, and now we're here today talking about how we can apply these same technologies to solve important business problems. So to wrap it up, I want to leave you here with some of these examples of how various industries are leveraging voice AI technology to have better and faster conversations with their customers. At Replicant, we often talk about the art of the possible. We always feel like we're just scratching the surface with what's possible, and we hope this leaves you with some inspiration of what can be done with best-in-class speech recognition and voice AI. Thanks so much for time, and back to the folks that...
Great. Thanks, Meghna. Now, let's start answering some of the audience's questions. It looks like, Alex, we've got a question coming in for Speechmatics. They're wanting to know what you're doing about accuracy gains for ASR technology. Can you answer that?
Hey, Sean. Yeah, this is a really great question, and one that is always in focus for Speechmatics. As we called out, accuracy is something that's really important. But what we try and do is work with our partners here when we talk about accuracy, is understand what accuracy really means to them. Meghna really touched on some really great points in regards to, what does accuracy mean? Does it mean accurately transcribing numbers, for instance? And what does the partner really need when it comes to transcribing numbers? Do they want a numerical reference, or do they want it spelled out as a word? So first, it's really important to understand what accuracy really means for people when it comes to transcribing. As well as understanding that, it's a case of really making our systems more robust. So how do you deal with poor quality audio, and making sure that your product is robust enough to deal with those kinds of situations, and being able to deliver really accurate transcription even when the call quality or the audio quality coming in is really, really poor. And we've made great enhancements here in understanding the kinds of audio profiles that are being utilized by our customers, and making sure that we can still deliver really, really accurate transcription for them to enable their use cases, as we've spoken about on the webinar so far. Now, there's also a lot of really exciting research happening very recently around unsupervised learning. And what that means is it really opens up the amount of data that machine learning approaches can utilize, whilst the traditional problems you've got with that is understanding what actual labeled data that is available to you. And so by using unlabeled and unsupervised learning, you can kind of get rid of all of that and train on a much more diverse range. And also, you then have to, when put into real-world situations, it becomes very beneficial because, of course, as Meghna was talking about, in a contact center environment, you've got very specific language, and you've also got very diverse speakers from the actual agent, where that agent is located, and also where that person is coming from, the different hardware they're using to record that. So it's all of these factors that ASR is becoming more and more robust and delivering greater diversity and accuracy across more diversity with the kind of people who are interacting with it. As well as also, like I mentioned, about metadata and features. So with Speechmatics, for instance, and again, talking about specific language, you can actually tune and train the engine to make it more effective for you by having a customization capability to add specific names, for instance, or other elements that are bespoke to a customer. So this is what I was saying about ASR no longer being just the capability of transcribing speech to text, but also giving the flexibility to provide customization for those users to really tune it and give them what they need out of their solution.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Meghna, I think this next question is aimed more towards Replicant, and they're asking how much room for customization is there within your AI models?
Yeah, so I would say that the majority of our AI models are actually highly custom. So our NLU models are always going to be, specific to a given company or enterprise's use cases. And then furthermore, we can train our ASR models on specific entities that one might see in a use case. I gave the example of a long kind of 20-digit product code, right? We can train on several hours of call recordings that feature a specific company's product codes, which is then a great way to get really accurate, 90+% accurate on those types of very difficult utterances going forward.
Okay, thanks. Will, there's somebody asking a question about the smart mic phone. It said that it looks like the product looks like microphones that you've produced before, and they want to know, you were talking about AI, but exactly how AI is used in the microphone is what they're interested in learning about.
Yeah, perfect question. Thank you. Yes, of course, it looks a little bit different to our famous speech mic, which is the most sold microphone for voice recording. It's a family, yes, it's similar, but as you're asking the AI part, so there's two ways of AI, essentially. It's a neuronal network, but there is the one where you have the neurons, and then you set the synapses and so on and fix it, and then that's it, or you have the self-learning one. The smart mic, in our case, we used to train it in our lab. We trained it up, but then fixed the algorithm. So it's AI closed up, so it's not self-learning, it's already at its best, and the algorithm is fixed. But we trained it up originally with two speakers to recognize the two speakers. I talked about different microphones in there to recognize who is who, which level of noise coming in. So this is the AI level we have put in there. And yeah, thanks to computational power, even that small in this device, it works quite well.
Thanks, Will. Alex, can you tell us how many languages Speechmatics has available in your product?
Yeah, good question. So we currently support 31 different languages. However, this is continuously growing, and we always love having conversations with our partners about which languages that they want next. However, it's about understanding, what do they want out of those languages as well, and how we can produce those for them in a way that they're going to address their use cases. So, yep, currently 31, but always looking to get insight on how more languages are going to be used. And used as easy as possible. So Speechmatics has a relatively unique approach to the way that we build languages. So we don't create different variants of the same language. To be more specific, we create global language models, which means that you can just submit the file knowing that it will be transcribed. Because it sounds like a great idea to have lots of different versions of like Spanish maybe, or English, and lots of different dialects and accent-specific ones. But when you get into contact center type use cases and you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of calls, then actually understanding, okay, the speaker is from a certain region or whatever, can be very workflow intensive. And so we've built our models to operate and really enhance operational simplicity, which means, I know this is a Spanish call, send it to one ASR language pack and get the best result back because they've used the most diverse range of data. So going back to the original question, 31 different languages at the moment, but always keen to learn about how we can address and solve more business problems by creating more languages.
Okay, thanks. I think we've got time for just one more question, and it's geared towards Will, and they're wanting to know, they say that you mentioned that Philips Speech offers solutions for all speech-to-document needs. Does that mean that you have your own speech recognition software?
Yes, no, the answer is no, we don't have our own speech recognition software. So as I said, we are focusing on pretty much for us, speech recognition is in the middle. We're focusing on the elements around. We are producing hardware to get better audio levels into speech recognition, to improve the results of speech recognition, and we're providing software to then do something with the recordings either audio or even the transcribed text, and manage that workflow as well as other solutions we're having there. So we are sort of circling around speech recognition and having a few strong partners in the middle providing us the speech recognition.
Perfect. So I think that is going to do it for our time. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We apologize that we were unable to get to all the questions today. However, all questions will be answered via email by today's sponsors if you have submitted one. I'd like to also thank our sponsors again for today, which is Alex Fleming, Product Manager of Speechmatics, Will Schaffner, Chief Technical Officer and Product Management Owner of Speech Processing Solutions, and Meghna Suresh, who is Head of Product and Co-Founder of Replicant. If you would like a copy of today's presentation, you can download it once the event has been archived. And if you would like to review this event or send it to a colleague, please use the same web address that you use for today's program. Plus, as a courtesy, you will receive an email once the archived event has been posted. And just for participating in today's program, you could win a $100 Amazon gift card. The winner will be notified via email. This concludes our program for today. Thank you for joining us, and please visit speechtechmag.com resources designed to help further your organization's voice technology needs.